Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to another crypto market update. My name is Brendan from Crypto 101, and the crypto markets are kicking things off hot this week. There's a lot in store, there's a lot of news that we need to cover, and there's also some really big catalysts that are helping propel the market back to the upside. So we're going to be breaking down all this and much, much more. All we ask is that if you like the content, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and if you really like it, then check out some of the links in the description down below. So let's kick things off by just talking about the general scene of the crypto market here, because we have Bitcoin moving up 3.5% on the day, back above $85,000. We have Ethereum moving up 5.5% on the day as it's making its way back to $2,000. And then we have Solana up about 4% on the day as it's nearing $130. Now, as we start to get back into the mid caps, this is actually increasing to the upside. And what I mean by that is that we are starting to see a lot of altcoins move 6, 7, 8, some of them 10+% back to the upside. For example, we have Maker up 8.5%. We have Near up 7%. We have Render up 11% on the day, and things are really starting to rally. Now, what this means is that not only is Bitcoin seeing a lot of positivity here, but the altcoin market, the traditional altcoin market, is seeing this as well. And that's what we like to see here across the board in the crypto markets. Now, the big question here is, why is this happening and what do we need to be paying attention to? And that's what I want to talk about here next. So let's come back to the charts here in just a second, but let's look at some of these catalysts because, as I said, there is a big week in store, and perhaps the biggest thing on this week's calendar is going to be the tariff announcement that's happening tomorrow, Wednesday. It's going to be April 2nd. And tariffs have really affected all of the risk-related markets, all of the risk-on markets. And the last time that we kind of saw this happen, we saw things plummet back towards the downside. And so now the thoughts are, hey, what is going to happen tomorrow? And I'm going to put it really simply so that everyone can understand. If they come out in a bad light, worse than expected and more impactful than expected, then the markets, they'll probably see another sell-off. However, if they are seeing any kind of easing, or if we are stepping off the gas pedal of these, or if there's views of or signs of a resolution that could make these have a softer landing or a softer launch, then we could see the markets really, really start to recover. In fact, a big reason why all of the risk-related markets, including crypto, I think are down here in the first place are because of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt that this has on the TradFi markets. And as of recently, we've seen an increased correlation between the United States traditional financial markets and what's happening over in the crypto. So I do think that the more that we start to see some of this fear, uncertainty, and doubt go away, the more positive price action I think that the crypto markets can see. And let me tell you, when it is all said and done and gone, I think we are in for a tear. And I mean a V-shaped COVID-like recovery back to the upside. And again, it's not financial advice. That is just my opinion. I think that we are overextended on that kind of trend of fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And again, as that goes away, I think the crypto markets are in store for some really, really positive things. Now, that begs the question, what if things are worse? Can we go to the downside more? And the answer there is obviously yes. We've already seen it happen a couple of times this year. I think it'd be silly to say, hey, no matter what happens, we're pumping up tomorrow. But I do see a path to success, and that's what I want to make sure everyone understands. Now let's talk about all the positive catalysts that are happening across crypto, because there are a lot of them. For example, what we've seen is that over the past 10 days, it has been positive inflows after positive inflows after positive inflows. And now, there's finally a headline saying, hey, we're breaking the streak of 10 days of straight inflows with $93 million in outflows. And at face value, you're probably looking at this saying, well, that's not good. That's almost $100 million of outflows. But you got to look at the data. Now, what did this 10-day streak look like? Well, here's what we saw. We saw 41 million in inflows, 270, 209, about 12, 165, 83, 84, 26, 89, and then another day of 89, followed by this outflow of 93 million. So at face value, you're saying, hey, 93 million is a lot, but that represents less than one of the single days of inflows that we had in the 10 previous days. So just one of those days covers all of yesterday's outflows plus a whole bunch more. So when you look at this, the net inflows here are still far surpassing any kind of outflows that the Bitcoin ETFs are seeing. And that is a positive thing for the crypto market. So inflows are remaining high. And even recently, we started seeing BlackRock say, hey, we actually want to expand our IBIT ETF over towards Europe. And it looks like they're making moves to do that as well. So lots of positivity from that front. Another thing that we're seeing is that the regulation side of things is continuing to go in the right direction. Coinbase's staking lawsuit has been axed in 3 different U.S. states. In fact, we started to see this in Kentucky. We saw this in South Carolina. We're now seeing this in Vermont. And again, this is a bigger trend that we talked about, showing that there is a shift in regulatory policy that was once pretty negative against the crypto markets and crypto companies, and it is getting more and more favorable. And this is just another example of this, and Coinbase is riding off of this good news. Now, people are still going to say, but Brendan, the crypto markets are down here. And then to that, I would say, hey, let's look at our good buddy Matt Hogan. He's a guy who we've had multiple times on the Crypto 101 podcast. You can look up those interviews. He also runs, he's the CIO of Bitwise, which is another Bitcoin ETF provider. And he's saying, well, what if we just zoom out here and we look at the returns since election day? Because it's easy to look at the crypto markets and be like, oh, why are we down? But let's look at this. Well, Bitcoin's still up 24.3% since election day. Gold has had a good run as well. It's up almost 14% since election day. Then we have the traditional indices, which are down 2.9%, like SPY, and then NASDAQ, which is down over 5% since election day. So it just goes to show you, hey, the crypto markets are volatile, but even in the short span of the last 6 or so months since election day, Bitcoin is still outperforming a lot of these markets. And even if we go to a day like today, like let's just take example for this. Bitcoin is up 3.37% today. It was up 0.2% yesterday. And if we go measure this versus NASDAQ, it outperformed, or it is outperforming NASDAQ today, as it's up nearly 3-4 times what NASDAQ is today, and it outperformed it yesterday as well. In fact, it outperformed it in some of these previous days. And so what we're seeing here is that in the short term, Bitcoin's outperforming major indices. In the midterm, like the last 6 or so months, Bitcoin is also outperforming these same asset classes. In the long term, the last several years, the last 10 years, it's also outperforming them. So if you want to look at the short term, the midterm, the long term, no matter where you look at it, we are seeing Bitcoin outperform a lot of these other asset classes that people often like to compare it to, even though it is vastly different. Now, BlackRock, you might be familiar with them. They are the largest asset manager on the planet. I believe that they have around $10 trillion in assets under management. Well, their CEO, Larry Fink, is saying, hey, I think that every stock, every bond, every fund, and every asset can be tokenized. And what he means by that is he thinks that blockchain technology can actually play a role in bringing these assets on chain and making them better and improving them. I'd say that's a pretty bullish thing to see. So there's a lot of positive catalysts that we are riding off of as we are overperforming here in recent days and pushing back up towards the upside. In fact, even on the charts, I think we can look at this and say, hey, yeah, is Bitcoin coming up into resistance here? Yes, it is. However, I think that if we can start to see Bitcoin clear above the mid-80s, get back up and above the 90s, then we're going to break this little trend line that we've seen of lower high after lower high after lower high over here of Bitcoin. And when that breaks, I think we all need to be paying attention to what can happen next, especially if this whole tariff thing turns out to be a big nothing burger. And, then things could really, really start to accelerate. So regardless, if we go lower, I think we have a lot of support down here for Bitcoin. We have this previous all-time high consolidation. We have our current lows. And overall, I think the future is still looking really, really bright. So there's a lot of positive things happening here, everyone. I hope all of you did enjoy this. I try to make these as short and compact and useful as possible because I know that all of you don't have hours and hours every single day to go through this, research all the news, the material, what matters, what doesn't matter, and all that stuff, right? So the goal here is to save you all time, and I hope all of you enjoyed this video. Now, if you're new here and you want to get plugged into an awesome crypto community, then you need to go down to those links in the description down below. We have all sorts of awesome resources that you can get plugged into. We have an awesome community called Crypt Nation, where you can join thousands of other like-minded individuals, talk about crypto, talk about the markets, talk about the news, talk about your trades, really whatever you want to do with people who are just as interested, in fact, maybe more interested than you are in all of this, and you can learn from them. Now, I'm personally one of the analysts over there, but we have a lot of other great things as well. We have the Crypto 101 podcast YouTube channel, where we have all sorts of tutorials, podcasts, and other great videos just like this one that you can check out completely for free. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you at the same time, same place next week.